well met! Welcome to Counter Monkey. I, of course, am your humble storyteller, Spoonie, here to tell you my epic adventures of the past so that you can laugh a little, and maybe learn something. First, though, I'd like to, I was looking through some of my books over there, and I rediscovered this! The Complete Ninja's Handbook for Dungeons & Dragons. How the hell have I had this thing so long and I never once rolled up a ninja? This is so fucking awesome, man. There's like... Why did I never roll a ninja? Well, I can't think of a reason why, but it's minor, but still, ninja, man. It's not, like, this is one of the only times, like, there's a book, one of these little splat books, for every single character class, like rangers, fighters, thieves, you name it, you know, mages and stuff like that. There's a book for every single class, but they're all defined classes in, like, the player's handbook, you know? Like, if you open the player's handbook, you'll see all those classes, and there's a book for everyone. Every race, there's a book for each race. And then there's the ninjas book. Ninjas are not anywhere in the player's handbook. This is, like, one of the only times when they define an entirely new class in one of these books. I think the only other one was like a psionicist. Or... I'm pretty sure there was one in... Yeah, there's one in, Dark Sun. It's like the Complete Shire's Handbook. And I think there's one for, Spelljammer. Spelljammer is another one of those weird kind of campaign settings where it's like, you have what basically like an aquatic ship, but it's a ship that flies in space. And yeah, there's a class for that. I don't know. But yeah, ninjas, man. It might have been... Actually, I think it might be because I think every ninja class is required to be evil, but I don't know. Of course, I never read the book, so I don't know. But yeah, they have spells. They have ninja spells that let them do ninja things. They have all sorts of really cool weapons they can use. They have grenades. Well, I say grenades, but they have, like, those eggshell grenades that are, like, full of noxious shit that blinds people. But still, you can throw cool stuff. Wait. There's a proficiency in giant kite flying. This proficiency is of use only to characters who intend to fly the unusual items called the Hitowashi and the Yamidoko, the human eagle and the man-sized kite. It is an expensive skill and difficult to master, so there are very few practitioners. Without this proficiency, a character trying to use a giant kite is certain to crash and do himself great harm, if not kill himself. Even with this proficiency, the character is very likely to do so. So it's basically the ninja equivalent of the Batman thing, where he... So it's like, yeah, you can do this if you want, but you're more than likely going to die in a very hilarious manner. So good luck with that. Although, this is when they started introducing some really weird friggin' proficiencies, like hold breath. This proficiency helps you hold your breath for extended periods of time. That's a proficiency? Really? Feign or detect sleep. People who pretend to be sleeping seldom do it right. However, most people don't know how to tell the fakers from those really asleep. Characters with this proficiency are trained to feign sleep accurately and determine when others are feigning sleep. See, people can pick right up on that. This skill is of special use to the ninja on guard duty and those infiltrating a secure site. A ninja will use this skill when listening to seemingly sleeping guards and guests. If he detects one who is breathing wrong, he can take steps to capture or silence the faker. Likewise, a ninja can use this skill to convince an intruder he is really asleep, so that he can creep up on the intruder from behind while his back is turned. Here's the kicker, I love this part. The acting proficiency can convey the ability to feign sleep, but the acting check is made at a -4 penalty. So, Having acting talent can help you, but acting like you're asleep, I don't know. You need to be some fucking Brando to pull off that shit. And it's no giant kite flying. How do you even practice for that? They got like a pool? Like you get like a really tall roof and you get your human kite and then you jump off into the pool? Yeah, wow, that would hurt a lot, I would think. What if you catch an updraft? Jeez. Then you got martial arts. Cool ninja pictures. Got nothing to do with anything. Should I just read this whole book to you? Maybe there's more proficiencies. I'm just really curious now. What other proficiencies? Detect signing. Okay. I wonder if they have, like, bonsai trimming. Bonsai trimming. Assimilation. No, it's not what you think. A character with this proficiency can study a different culture well enough to pretend to be a member of it. Whatever. There's no more. Detect signing. Enamor. This proficiency allows a ninja to trick an NPC into falling in love with him or her. It is more than the skill of knowing which flowers to send or garments to wear. This proficiency allows the ninja to study his target like a thief studies a vault, looking for weak points to exploit. I'm starting to think this book was written as a huge gag. Ninja fails the Enamor proficiency by 4 or more. The victim has been insulted during the romantic pursuit. The victim may attack the ninja, may arrange to have the ninja assaulted, or may pretend to be seduced in order to cause the ninja some great harm later. I just like how it keeps saying ninja over and over again. Like, the ninja can study people. The ninja can strap his ass to a really stupid kite. A character is trying to use a giant kite is certain to crash and do himself great harm. Wow. Okay, enough of the ninja book. Just thought that was interesting. Okay. I used to be a big fan of the Dragonlance novels back in the day. In fact, all through like junior high, all the way to high school, I read a lot of them. And then they got to the Fifth Age, and the Fifth Age is kind of, it was kind of strange, really. I've really cooled on Dragonlance a lot. I really don't like them anymore, but it did have some heart to it in the sense that there were some compelling characters to it. I think everybody kind of liked the whole Raistlin thing. Raistlin is he's kind of one of those really angsty, mysterious mages. Almost like I don't know, he's kind of the prototypical Edward Cullen of fantasy role-playing. I don't know, I'm mixing my literary metaphors here, but he was kind of this mysterious, dark, gothic kind of dude who had, he had like really premature white hair. He's real sickly and he coughs up blood all the time because he had this really agonizingly torturous test in Dragonlance. All wizards to become certified wizards, it's like a really sadistic version of Hogwarts where they have to go to the Tower of High Sorcery and take a test. And the test is different for everybody. I think it's partially like psychological, like the cave that Yoda sends Luke Skywalker into, where he's like, only what you take with you is in there. And I think that's kind of what it is, to where, like, Raistlin goes in there and he undergoes this really horrendous, torturous ordeal in there that leaves him like a broken man, that causes him just grievous injury that has never healed properly. So he's very sickly. He's coughing all the time. It's almost like tuberculosis kind of thing. And the only thing that kind of keeps the coughing at bay is like this special tea that he drinks. And so Raistlin was a really popular character who basically ascended from nothingness, basically, to overcoming his frailty, so to speak, and that he became one of the greatest sorcerers in Krynn. So much so that he challenged the gods, or challenged one of the main gods themselves, the goddess of... He basically turned into a villain. And so he became so powerful and so evil, he straight up went into the abyss and called out the goddess of evil, Takesis, and kicked her ass. So that's how cool this guy was, So he kind of became this really sympathetic character. You got kind of an insight into his character, and he was kind of like this, really, honestly, it was kind of it was almost like if Anakin Skywalker were done right, to where he kind of turned into Darth Vader, where he started off as, I won't say a good guy, but he started off as kind of a cynical, really kind of angry dude that kind of got twisted. You know, life and everything kind of twisted this guy around. You know, everyone kind of picked on him. He was kind of that really sickly nerd that, you know, he kind of got pushed too far, almost in a way like Kaneda, Tetsuo did, you know, in Akira. You know, he has this huge latent power within him, and you know, when he finally achieves this massive power, I won't say he's quite as petulant as Tetsuo, but again, I'm mixing my cinematic metaphors here, but it's that kind of it's kind of like that, where he has this massive power, but his life experience and everything that's happened to him, he's very jealous of his brother. His brother is like this really muscular, not entirely bright, but very popular, very handsome, kind of this traditional chiseled type action hero type guy, and he's always been very jealous of his brother, and so he's always trying to prove himself. And okay, so he becomes this really popular character and kind of a tragic character, to where he's kind of an anti-hero. He's like a really cool anti-hero. To where even though he's trying to overcome, he's basically trying to replace the goddess of evil, he's still got kind of motivations. He is still kind of sympathetic, and you really want to see how it turns out because you know this guy. So anyway, I've really cooled on the series since then, mostly because I really hated how the series ended up going. It kind of reached that point where it didn't necessarily jump the shark. It's just the shark went home. And so, in brief, too late, I'll try to explain how it went. Was like, basically, this is where my memory fails me. Basically, what happens is, after all the shit with Riceland, where Riceland kind of kicks Takhisis' ass, the father of the gods comes back. Basically, all the gods in Kryn in Dragonlance are related, and they're all the offspring of like the All-Father. It's kind of like Odin, but different, like the All-Father. You know, it's like the father of all these gods. Anyway, so basically, their dad is coming home, and Daddy's very angry. So it's kind of one of those things where the gods in unison go, "Oh shit!" So what happens is basically all of the heroes from the various books, they have to kind of get together for one last ride, you know, and they're confronted with like the ultimate power. You know, this god comes down and he's about to step on the fucking planet, and so they have to band together and, you know, combine their powers and defeat the god of gods, you know. So they prevail, and so this is basically what happens in general. After their victory, like I think they entrap the essence of the father of the gods in like this cube. I can't remember because it doesn't really matter. But let's just say they prevail, and after that, the other three gods, the three main gods. There's a god of goodness, there's a god of neutrality, and the goddess of evil. And the premise of these gods is that the organization of this cosmology is that you have good, you have neutrality, and you have evil. And so good and evil are constantly struggling against each other, and there's the god of neutrality who kind of keeps things balanced. That's actually what he is. His symbol is a scale. He keeps these two sides balanced. The reasoning being that one side you can't actually have good overcome evil, because if good overcomes evil, there is kind of like it's almost like good becomes this puritanical oppression. Again, thinking back on it, didn't really make sense. But here's kind of what there's actually one of the defining moments of the books is called the Cataclysm, wherein the high priest of Paladine. What's a paladin? I think that's the name of the god of good, Paladine. The high priest calls down basically the wrath of Paladine to eradicate evil. And what happens is the wrath of the gods basically nukes, like just turns the entire city, like the biggest city in the world, into like a glass crater. And they're like, what the fuck? You know, they're like, this isn't what we wanted. You know, we wanted to wipe out evil. And, you know, again, I'm bastardizing the story a little bit, but you can't have, like, if evil wins, the world is destroyed, so we can't have evil win. But by the same token, if goodness, like, if the forces of good win, there's, like, a gray area, you know, like, there all of a sudden there is no gray area anymore. That's very black and white, and then white crushes everything, and so there's a lot of innocent people who get trampled in the aftermath. There's kind of like you kind of have like this Inquisition kind of result, which is what kind of happened to the Cataclysm. Was it kind of became like this Inquisition, and so, you know, all the supposedly good people are like, everything that's evil and bad we wipe out. So that's kind of what happened, and I have to explain this because it's actually very key to the story I'm telling, or the problem I have with Dragonlance, one of many. So back to the story, the way the Fifth Age is ushered in is they overcome the father of the gods, and so basically what happens is the three gods kind of look at each other and they go, fuck it, we quit, and they walk away. And when I say walk away, I mean they leave. They leave the series. I can't explain it any easier than that. It would be like, let me think. Okay, let's say you're watching Thor, the movie Thor, and, you know, the Captain America and the Avengers get together, and, you know, let's say Odin gets really fucking pissed, and Odin is like, you know what, fuck these guys. They've corrupted my son, and they've taken my son Loki, and they've exiled him and shit. They killed my son, so I'm gonna go kick their ass. So the Avengers beat up Odin. Okay. Again, I'm mixing all sorts of shit, but bear with me. So let's say Odin goes apeshit and attacks them. The Avengers kick his ass. Then it would be like if Thor and everyone in Asgard was like, fuck it, this sucks. And then Asgard just floats away, and we never hear from him again. It's a little different in that in Krynn, these guys are magic. They are what makes magic work. All magic comes from the gods. Well, all holy magic comes from the gods, but they make magic work. They're everything that happens magically is kind of a result of their influence, if you dig it. So, they literally decide to pack their bags and leave. They leave continuity. They just go away. They're gone. So there's no point in praying to them because they're gone. They have left the building. They have left the universe. And so, like, you wouldn't even think that's possible. Like, because the gods just get sick of this shit. They're like, look, this is actually a main reason why. Is because they go like, look, you know what? This sucks. You know, this fucking Riceland guy kicked down the door to fucking Takhisis's room and he beat her ass. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? We are so getting disrespected here. You know, the Takhisis is like, this fucker came, you know, he just busted into my crib and just beat the shit out of me. And so, like, the gods go, enough of this shit, and they leave. Which is actually another one of the really funny rules in Dragonlance. Before they decided to throw their hands up and leave, in the space between that, Riceland goes over and kicks the shit out of Takhisis. Not big spoilers, don't worry about it. If you want to read them, go ahead. I really have not spoiled all that much, because that was kind of the whole point. Was Riceland goes and, like, basically is like, will he take the place of Takhisis? Because he's very clearly okay. Anyway, so, like, between the time when Riceland kicks Takhisis's ass and before they leave, this is kind of when this book takes place. And I think I'd have to go looking, but I'm not going to find it. But there's a level limit in Dragonlance. And I think it's 16 or 17. At which point, once you've reached level 16 or 17, the gods kick you out. They hoist you up by your underwear and they throw you off. They throw you off the planet. They throw you basically into Planescape. You leave. They send you somewhere else. It's 18. Yeah, because all the level charts peak at 18. I'm trying to find out where it says specifically if it does. But, yeah. And the reason they do that is because the last guy they allowed to reach over level 18 was Riceland. And so they are so paranoid that that somebody will again challenge them and challenge their rule, because apparently when you get that high level, you are on a power level where you can essentially beat up the gods, because the gods are statted, of course, so you can kill them. So the gods are like, fuck that. We're not putting up with this shit. So if you are gonna reach level 19, they take you out. They get together as a unit and they throw you off the goddamn world. Now I gotta find this. Where Orders of the Universe. And again, I wouldn't get bogged down in this, but it actually is worth mentioning, because there's a whole sorts of really silly kind of rules where it's a good setting. I mean, there's actually a lot of stuff that goes on here that is very unique, you know, and it gives Dragonlance a lot of really good, cool flavor to it, and that, you know, magic is handled differently, races are handled differently. This is one of the first ones I remember that really has any kind of overt racism, in the sense that half-elves are really kind of scorned. Any kind of half-breed race is very much scorned. And God, where is it? I'm not going to find it, but yeah, as soon as you get to level 18, they throw you off. And the reason I say that is because there are provisions in this book. Let's say you're a cleric of one of the gods here, like Mishakal, which is like the goddess of healing. It's one of the good aligned gods. If you're a cleric of Mishakal and you get kicked off of Kryn, you become what's called I think it's called a heathen priest. So or even if you're not kicked off, if you leave Kryn, the deities of Kryn only have influence on Kryn, whereas on like every other plane of existence, oh no, I remember what it is. If you come from another world and you go to Kryn, if you worshipped a different god, which is almost certain to happen. So let's say you're a cleric of Lathander from, I think, Forgotten Realms, and you get teleported to Kryn somehow, which, trust me, if you're in Forgotten Realms, that's not as uncommon as you might think. You become what's called a heathen priest, in which case Lathander no longer talks to you. So you're basically a cleric without cleric powers. You've become this schmuck, you know, who's like, you have no one to pray to. You know, it's another one of those really funny rules where I think, yeah, heathen priest. If you come from a world far removed from the Dragonlance saga, you become heathens. You lose all of your spellcasting abilities until you find a god of Kryn to worship. The gods of Kryn are the only ones who have powers in this world. So yeah, if you get teleported to any other world, the odds are good your god will listen to you. I think the only other place that really won't listen to you is in Ravenloft. And even then, if you go to Ravenloft, if you're a good aligned cleric or priest or whatever, even though your god doesn't answer you, something is. Which is actually one of the scarier parts of Ravenloft. So let's say, although Lathander's a bad example, but let's say you worship some, you know, god X. That's a good god. Maybe like some good guy, whatever. So Corellin Loriathan or something like that, like an elven god. So you get teleported to Ravenloft and you pray to Corellin. Corellin does not answer you because he has no influence there. None of the gods do, but there are gods or something akin to gods that kind of run Ravenloft. So when you pray for spells, you can pray to Corellin, and something gives you your spells that you asked for. But it's not Corellin. So something actually answers you, but if you're in Kryn, you're fucked. No. Doesn't work out. And so this is always the funniest thing I found about the clerics is, if you're a cleric and if you're sent to Kryn, you become a heathen until you find a god of Kryn to worship. Now, think about that. Let's say let's say you're Catholic, and you get sent to Mars, and you find these Martians, and, okay, God doesn't give Catholics magic powers, at least not that I'm aware of, but bear with me. You get sent to Mars, and they're like, No, God, the Catholic God? No, he's not here. He's not going to answer you. But we have all these Martian gods you could pray to. That's so weird. Like, you would never, like, convert. Well, I'm digging a hole here. But, like, let's say you're a cleric. You have absolute belief in your god. This god gives you magic powers. You've devoted your life to the study of... Oh, you're a cleric. You've literally devoted your life to the study of this god. You've consigned your soul and your life to his service. That's what a cleric is, okay? Then you've done this, you're teleported to Kryn, and you're like, oh, well, he's gone. All hail Paladine! Like, I don't buy that. There's no way you convert. You know, like, and you could argue, like, well, you're converting your service to a god of goodness, so what's the difference? There's a big fucking difference. You don't change gods like you change your pants. You know, so that was always one thing I found funny. God, I wish I could find this rule. It might not actually be in this book. Hang on. Now I'm really curious. Elves, dragons, NPCs. Yeah, it's probably in here, but I'm not finding it. So, okay, here's where I'm gonna. Here's the main problem I have with the book now. Fifth Age. I'm going to finish my Fifth Age story. So, the gods leave, and that's the Fifth Age, is this really, really uninteresting span of books where there's no gods and there's very little magic, and I'm not sure if this has ever been confirmed, but I remember reading a theory that it actually seemed to fit, where Kryn is... The theory is Dragonlance is a prequel to Dark Sun, in that Dark Sun is like it's like Mad Max, but like with fantasy Mad Max, where it's like the entire world is a desert, and it's this really kind of strange thing where like there's pyramids, and there's the struggle for water is constant. In fact, there's like an entire mechanic based around dying of thirst, where you can actually, no matter what your alignment is, if you are dying of thirst, your alignment is suspended, and you will do anything to get water. So your alignment will be temporarily suspended and converted to like chaotic evil until you get water. That's how serious it is. And yeah, I know I called it Mad Max. I just can't get beyond Thunderdome. But so Dark Sun has this another kind of strange but cool magic mechanic where there are what are called defilers and preservers. And preservers kind of use their inner magic to help make nature flourish, because magic comes from the power of life. You know, so, and what defilers do is they take the dark side. They take the easy path. And what they do is they derive magic by stealing life from the earth. What little life there is remains. They are defiling the earth into like this foulness. And so that's the difference between defilers and preservers. And so it's small wonder then that many of the most powerful, you know, kings and the most powerful dudes in Dark Sun are these really intensely powerful defilers, because it's an easy route and it's really cool. And so I remember reading there was a theory that basically Dark Sun is the future of Dragonlance, where at some point in Dragonlance all of Kryn gets wiped out. Somehow there's some huge cataclysm that occurs that wipes everything in Kryn out, except it turns everything into a sandy desert. And the reason I say that is because after the gods leave Kryn, one of the only ways that magic still exists is by defiling and preserving. I don't know if they ever call it that, because again, I stopped reading. I got really bored with it quickly. But yeah, so there's like defilers and preservers on Kryn. And so like I think there was actually credence to that. I'm not sure. But and the other main reason was actually, it's another reason I stopped reading the Star Wars extended universe novels, was there just became too many goddamn novels set in that universe. I couldn't keep up, and I read a lot. So like, especially when it got to New Jedi Order, there were just too many fucking books coming out. Even if I read one a month, you know, one every 2 weeks, I couldn't keep up with his shit. So that was the other thing with Dragonlance, was there was so much inflation when it came to the books. There was There were side plots. There were books called Heroes and Legends, where like every even minor character in the Dragonlance, like Fewmaster Toad or something like that, got a book, and Kaz the Minotaur got a book. I don't even know who the fuck Kaz is. Every single character got like their own little mythology book, and there were like, it was crazy, you know. There were so many books coming out. There was no way to fucking keep up, and so like I was not enjoying the 5th Age at all. So I was like, ugh, I quit. And there was this one thing. This huge tangent is leading to this completely unrelated thing I hated about Dragonlance, and I still have never understood it to this day. And this book is like really centrally based, or like the entire cosmology of Krynn, the entire organization of magic and wizardry in Dragonlance is based around this nonsensical concept. And here's what it is. To be a wizard in Krynn, at least, okay, to be a wizard in Krynn, you have to go to the Tower of High Sorcery and essentially get licensed. You have to pass a test or die. So many people who take the test die because the test is very, very difficult. And very few, I don't know if it's very few, but not many people pass. If you don't take the test, you can level up as a wizard, but you're basically a renegade, and the other wizards of High Sorcery will hunt you, and they'll kill you. I don't even think they make you take the test. They'll just be like, oh, you're not licensed, you're dead. So they'll kill you. And, you know, it's possible to play, but anytime you run into a wizard, they can kind of smell you, smell the power on you, and they'll kill you. So you pretty much have to play a character who's involved with the Tower of High Sorcery in some respect. So, when you've passed the... You can do this beforehand, but once you've passed the test of High Sorcery, you have to declare what robes you're going to wear. And that sounds... I mean, bear with me. There's three colors of robes that determine what order of wizard you are in. There's white, there's red, and there's black. I think you can kind of put together where this is going, where white is good guys, black is the bad guys, and red is the forces of neutrality. They tend to keep the balance. Now, I have so many problems with this. So, and it's not good guys and bad guys, but white are people devoted to good. Red are people devoted to neutrality, and black are people devoted to evil. And that's not an exaggeration, that's not hyperbole, that's not my terminology. That's what they are. That is, like, when a guy sees a wizard in a black robe, they're like, that guy is devoted to the concept of evil. It's well known. It's common. So, like, and it's, again, it's not, oh, he's devoted to the worship of Techesis. He is, but that's kind of like, they might as well just hang a sign around their neck because it's that well known. They literally worship evil. They are evil. Basically, wearing the black robes is a declaration that they are evil. That's what it means. They have openly declared themselves to be evil. Okay, two things. You can probably already see the problem in this. In fact, I'll read it because it's really strange. You can change orders, which is interesting. Okay. A white-robed wizard must follow the ways of good and keep this goal in mind in all that he does. Wizard of the red robes gains levels faster than his white-robed brothers. Really? Why? Red robes have the widest range of spells available. Oh, I get it. It's because the closer you go to the dark side, the wizards of the black robes level up fastest because their path is easier. You know, it's the dark side. So, where does it say early life of the wizard? Okay, well, yeah, there's more in-depth descriptions, but yeah. So my first problem is the red robe guys. I've always had it explained to me in terms of like writing fiction. There's never such a thing as a villain who considers himself evil. Nobody considers themselves evil unless they're insane. In which case you might be like, oh, I'm evil. and you know, there might be some guys who kind of are like really stupid, like quote unquote Satanists who are like, yes, I worship evil, for I am evil. Posers. Okay, no, like nobody. The way I had it explained to me is everyone is the hero of their own story. Okay, so nobody, unless they really have a poor, you know, self-esteem or something, even then they're like, nobody says like, I'm a I'm a bad guy, I am evil. Nobody really says that. Again, unless they're in a case of extreme mental duress or distress or something like that. So virtually nobody in a story will do this just because it's evil. Everyone who has any kind of motivation in a good story anyway believes that what they're doing is either the only course of action or believes what they're doing is right, or if not right, the only way to get out of a situation. You know, it's something that has to be done. So of course there's, you know, you can paint the gray area, you know, like what is good, what is bad, but whoever the character is, they are doing what seems best for them. So what they're doing cannot be evil if that's what they're doing, because they're, you know, nobody goes out intending to be evil, if you dig it. And by the same token, I don't think anybody really devotes themselves to neutrality. That seems weird to me. Except maybe the Swiss, you know, it just seems weird to be like, are you good or are you evil? I haven't decided. Who's gonna say that? You know, like, I can see all for, like, being a guy who wants to keep the peace. Sure, that's what a policeman does. You know, a policeman maintains the balance. He makes sure things are peaceful. He makes sure nobody gets out of hand. But you could easily argue that's a good guy. You know, that's a good thing they're doing, is to making sure that, you know, evil does not prevail. It's such a weird concept to be devoted to neutrality. And again, you're gonna argue with me that, oh, druids are devoted to neutrality because they're attempting to maintain the balance, the elusive balance between, you know, nature and, you know, urban environments, or man and nature and stuff like that. Whatever. But I just don't think anybody's like, ah, yes, I am a strict devotee to neutrality. Nobody, like, oh, you guys stay on that side, you guys stay on that side. We can't have any... I don't even know what the fuck, you know, like... What? I guess it's because the laundry's easier to do. Because I do not envy the white robes, keeping those fuckers clean. And you especially don't want the white robes doing the same load as the red robes guys, because all of a sudden the white robes are now the pink robes. You know, then you got some weirdness going on over there. Although that'd be a good prank for the black robes to play on the white robes, is to throw a red robe in, you know, hey, pink robe, hi. No. So, yeah, I don't really understand, even if your character is neutral, like, let's say, like, neutrality is essentially self-interest in a lot of ways. Although they're more dedicated to the philosophy of philosophical neutrality, which is really an asshole way to start thinking about things. It really doesn't make that much sense, and it's certainly not much of a way for a character to act. You know, it's actually kind of, even if you figure out how a character would act that way, it's either boring or the character is just as likely to turn on the party as it is to support them. Because whatever it is, it maintains the balance, whatever the fuck that means. So, yeah, first off, I have a problem with the red robes, but the black robes. You're a wizard, okay? Picture this. You've just passed the Tower of High Sorcery, and you are an unbelievable asshole. Huge asshole. You would kick a baby off the tower if it meant getting you another magic spell. You are fucking evil. You are just completely socially maladjusted. You will murder someone for a ham sandwich. You are open. You openly, not openly, but you definitely consider yourself an evil bastard. You will do anything. You intend to rule the world one day with your dark, foul fucking magics. Now, with that in mind, you've passed your test, and the counselor goes, "Well done! Now, what robes would you like to wear? Are you going to say black? Or are you going to say white? This isn't a tough question. You're going to say white. Because if you're evil, and you know you're evil, are you going to put a robe on that advertises that you're evil? You're going to choose a white robe because what other alternative do you have? You don't want to out yourself as an evil guy. Why would anyone want to out themselves as evil? Nobody's going to trust your ass. Not even other evil dudes. Like if you're a black robe and you're talking to another black robe and he's like, yeah, I made this potion and it's a healing potion. You should drink this. You know, like you're like, oh, I see you're hurt. Drink this healing potion. You're not gonna take the fucking potion from another black. He's evil. He's probably gonna try to kill you and take your spell book because he's wearing a black robe. But you know, if a white robe dude is like, oh, I see you're really badly hurt. Here, take this healing potion. He's gonna take it from a white robe because a white robe is a fucking good guy. It's like, I have no fucking concept why anyone would willingly put on black robes. It's not just a fashion statement. It's like, you go into a town, you go into the tavern, you're wearing black fucking robes. Like, nobody's gonna... I mean, the only reason they're gonna do anything for you is because they're afraid of you, which I guess is one way to do it, but you're just as likely to get chased out of town by villagers with torches and pitchforks. You know, I really don't follow this because... And once you've declared this, it's over. You know, like, every other wizard in the tower knows that you've openly declared yourself to worship... pardon me, worshipping evil. So you're fucked two ways, in that it makes no sense from a character or literary standpoint because nobody really considers themselves evil unless you're... I mean, unless there are movies where people do that, but it's really cartoonishly stupid, where, you know, it's really like this Snidely Whiplash or Cruella de Vil type of villain that really has no motivation beyond, you know, that there's nothing to that. And it's really unrealistic because nobody acts that way. Even the most, like, diabolical villain, like, you know, even if you're Hans Gruber and you're trying to steal money, they're not doing it because evil. They're doing it because they need the money, or they, you know, there is a goal in mind that it's not, I'm just doing this because evil. And if you asked Hans Gruber if he would like to wear a sign that says terrorist around his neck, do you think Hans Gruber would say that? He'd say yippee-ki-yay motherfuck. You know, like, nobody sane would do this because it doesn't serve you in any way to go around wearing a black fucking robe. It's madness. You know what? I'm going to read this again because I'm going to read it right in front of you here, and I'm not going to... You can be a renegade, early life of a wizard. Hang on. I want to see where it defines this because it's fucking ridiculous. The Conclave of Wizards. 3 factions, 7 representatives. The black representative is usually the most powerful wizard of that order. Hang on. I gotta figure this out, because this is bullshit. I hate this. It just... And it's not even, like, complicated. When you're reading this, it's obvious. You know, it's like, who writes this shit this way? I don't see any explanation for this, but when you read the novels and this is how they explain it, you know, it doesn't make any sense. Or if you're evil, you're gonna wear a red robe, because maybe wearing the white robe is too obvious. But you're not. You're gonna wear anything but the fucking black robes. God. Explain this to me seriously. Like, I need help with this one because you know, even as a kid, I was reading this going like, who the fuck would do this? Like, you know, Riceland changed orders. He used to wear the red robes. Again, makes no sense. But he changed them into black robes. Because he was like... And it wasn't even really by choice. It was, but it wasn't. In the sense that the choice was almost made for him. It was almost forced on him because he was kind of, I think, possessed by this spirit of an evil archmage, like the ghost of one, that had kind of, he kind of made a deal, like a Faustian deal with this spirit that allowed him to survive the test and gave him this power. And I think gave him the Staff of Magius, like this really powerful staff that he has. And so it's like he kind of made a deal with this guy mainly to survive. And I think that kind of twisted him into evil. Again, I'm bastardizing the whole story, but it really wasn't necessarily all his choice. But he'd made this deal that eventually kind of twisted him into evil. But again, I just don't get why he'd wear a black robe. Yeah. So Riceland, you know, maybe there was no hiding it at some point because he did take over one of the towers of high sorcery and basically sealed it off and turned it into his own lab while he kind of gathered power to challenge the goddess of evil. But you'd think he'd try. You'd think he'd hang fucking, like, Christmas lights up around the tower and kind of try to put on some appearances. So, like, people don't try... Like, you can't invade the tower because there's, like, a forest that surrounds the tower that basically keeps everyone out. That you can't assault it unless he wants you in. But, yeah. There's no point to this story. I just wanted to bitch about Dragonlance, but hey... What do you want? Yeah, seriously, honestly, I just wanted to ask that question. And, you know, maybe I'm crazy. Entirely possible I'm crazy that there's a really obvious reason why you would want to wear the black robes. It just really seems to me like, I guess it's the same reason why, like Star Wars. Like, why would you... openly, like, claim to be a Sith Lord? Why would you do that? Like, why wouldn't you still pretend to be a Jedi? Wouldn't you? Like, is it because, like, when you're all dark side, when you get dark side points, you turn all pale and evil and it's really obvious that you're a Sith Lord? Is that it? Because, like, if you're a Sith Lord, wouldn't it serve you much better to just stay, or at least pretend to be a Jedi, and not wear, like, evil black fucking robes and carry around a red lightsaber? Because that's kind of a dead fucking giveaway. You'd think it would be much more to your advantage to dress in those stupid, like, tan and beige robes or wear some burlap like Yoda and, like, still carry your little pastel blue lightsaber and, you know, yes, sir, Master Yoda, sir, I'll definitely go scout out this planet for you. And then, you know... You stab the guy with you in the back, and you're like, oh my god, Master Yoda, it was terrible. There was this fucking sand person clocked him from behind with his gaffy stick. I didn't even see it coming. My god. You'd think you'd kind of play that, you'd try to play that off as long as you could, you know. It just seems like it's more efficient to your goal. Like, if you wanted to destroy the Jedi, don't openly declare yourself as an opponent of the Jedi. Pretend to be a Jedi and stab other Jedi in the face when you're alone with them. And you can still call your Sith Lord dude and talk to him and get instructions. Like, do you really need to be there in person to get, like, Sith Lord training on how to choke a fucker? Because Darth Vader didn't need to do that. Like, he knew how to choke a fucker from across the TV screen. He didn't know where the fuck that guy was. He was like, eh. He just saw the guy. So, like, couldn't you just get on, like, a Skype call and the guy do, like, here's how you choke a bitch. And there you go. You know, I just... like, why would you put on, like, you know, in Knights of the Old Republic, do you really need to put on, like, the evil fuck-off mask when you're Darth Revan or something? Like, why? I don't use a fucking red lightsaber. That's all you gotta do, and nobody's gonna figure this out. You know, how much more damage could you do if you just pretended to be some pussy Jedi? That's it. like, they're gonna see you coming. Okay, fuck. I'm just rambling now. Yeah, Dragonlance used to be a big fan, and then I started thinking. Yeah. The only thing I still like about Dragonlance was Lord Soth, who basically is... I was gonna say he's a Darth Vader ripoff. He's a little more than that. He's kind of more he's kind of a tragic guy. Lord Soth was a really interesting character, especially more so later on. Basically, his deal is he's a Death Knight, and a Death Knight is a really powerful undead knight. So he's like, what if you had he's really powerful. Let's just put it that way. So he's effectively immortal. He has really supremely evil powers. Like he can shoot fireballs out of his eyes. That's one thing he can do. So like, picture essentially Darth Vader. If Darth Vader wore plate mail, had a magic sword, and could shoot fire from his eyes. That's kind of what he was. And so he was like this undead servant of the evil Dragon Lord and stuff like that. So his deal was he still had emotions, though. He still was in love with this woman that he could never really attain. One, because he's a Death Knight and he could never get a boner again, you know. But, you know, he still loves this woman, and he's trying to, like, he doesn't even know how to resolve it. Like, he loves her, but he can't have her, but he wants to try, but he can't. So he's got this weird kind of angst going on, and so he's really tormented by this. In fact, that is the thing that torments him most, is his unrequited love for this human woman that he can't figure out. Okay, so, again, not a spoiler. At some point, they kill him. But for a Death Knight, you can't really kill a Death Knight. You know, not really. So what happens is, once they've killed him, in one of the more interesting crossovers, he gets taken to Ravenloft. Very, very brief introduction to Ravenloft, for those of you in the cheap seats don't know what I'm talking about. Ravenloft is basically the Twilight Zone of Dungeons & Dragons. It's not hell, but it's like this, it's like a mix between Castlevania and the Twilight Zone, because it's like, it's called the Demiplane of Dread. It's this very dark, mysterious realm that's basically like evil that's made tangible. This entire realm is tangible, and the only gods that rule here are called the Dark Powers. And the Dark Powers are not gods, it's just some kind of nebulous concept of evil that somehow binds this place together, and its only function is to torture you. It takes, it like dangles hope on a string and then yanks it away. And so that's like the entire function of this place. And so there is you can win against the Dark Powers, but it's very, very hard. And so, but really the Dark Powers aren't here to torture you. They're here to torture the Dreadlords. Okay. And so the Dreadlords, like, there's several little countries in Ravenloft, and Ravenloft floats in a sea of mist. And so the various countries are ruled over by a Dreadlord. And there's one place called Barovia, which is run essentially by Count Dracula. It's Strahd von Zarovich, but it's Dracula. So the Dark Powers keep tormenting Dracula with this one woman, his true love, that he murdered for. He made like this deal with the devil essentially to get this woman, only to find out that once he had her, she was horrified by the deed he had done and hurled herself off the castle. So he's now this lord of essentially Castlevania, and the Dark Powers keep doing this thing where they reincarnate his true love, looks exactly the same, and he keeps trying to win her back, win her love. And he keeps doing this, and he actually succeeds, only to find that she dies immediately afterwards, either by misadventure or she kills herself or something. Like, something always takes her away from him again. And so for all eternity, he's doomed to always chasing this woman, hoping against hope that he can get her back. Okay, so something similar happens to Lord Soth. He gets sent to Ravenloft, and given his own realm. He gets his own dread realm, and so he's in this castle, and his torment is twofold. One is he's basically sealed inside this castle, and constantly there are like wailing spirits or banshees or something like that who constantly scream at him and sing of what a failure he is. They basically recount every failure, every bit of rejection this guy has ever felt. They mock him for failing to, win over this woman's love, or, failing to succeed in his endeavors. He had all these ambitions and he fucked it up. All the dishonor. He used to be a knight of Solamnia, that knight of like the most prestigious knightly order, and he fucked that up. He dishonored himself. He dishonored his entire order. They just keep singing this shit and just constantly tormenting him over and over by reminding him of this in this really mocking song. And this land is also it's called Sithicus, and this is also one of the only place where you will find vampire kender. A kender is like a hat. Fuck it. I'm going way off. But yeah, vampire kender. This is the only place where you find vampire kender, and it's so fucking stupid. It's actually kind of brilliant. So you have this place called Sithicus, and I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that he, like Strahd, he is constantly tormented by visions of Kitiara, this woman he loves. Either she's there, or he keeps seeing visions of her, and then the spirits keep tormenting him about how, we saw her, but you can't have her, and so he's in like this constant torment. And that's what the dark powers do, is they set up these realms where they just torture these people. They torture they're evil, irredeemably evil, but they just keep picking at them because this is basically their hell. The hell itself is not enough for these guys. The dark powers are just ripping at these guys' spirits until they're just broken. And it never gets old, because these guys are so fucking stubborn and evil and pissed off that they won't break. You know what I mean? So it is endlessly amusing to the dark powers to torture these guys. Okay. So Lord Soth is so, I don't want to say funny, but it's actually, he's like the only guy to ever win against the dark powers, which is virtually impossible to win. And he also did another thing that is also even more impossible. That doesn't make it, but it's one of the whole tenets. One of the defining principles of Ravenloft is that nobody gets out. Once you're in there, you don't leave. You can't. The dark powers will not allow it, and there is no beating the dark powers in that regard anyway. You cannot leave. So, not only did Lord Soth beat them, he escaped Ravenloft. Here's how. It's actually an adventure. There's a Ravenloft adventure, which I thought was hilarious, where you actually are brought to Sithicus, and the realm is falling apart. Like, it's disintegrating. There's pieces of it falling off and disappearing into the sea of mists, and it's all going to shit, and you're trying to find out why. And so you go to Lord Soth Castle, and you find that in his throne room he has all these mirrors set up all over the place. And I can't remember if he constructed the mirrors. I think he did, but each one of these mirrors leads to essentially one of his fantasy realms. He's created like these virtual reality fantasies where he goes, and it's like the only place he can find any kind of solace or joy. Not joy, but it's like kind of where he goes to just brood, So he built these mirrors and kind of escaped in them and kind of found some escapism for a while. And then angst set in. Even deeper angst than when he got sent to Ravenloft, because one of the main things about Ravenloft is they torture these guys, but what gets amusing is the dark powers like doing it because the guys in Ravenloft don't believe that they deserve to be tortured when they do. So Lord Soth, he builds these like escapist fantasies, and it works for a little while, but what happens is it doesn't work for long. What starts to happen is these spirits scream at him, and they keep reciting all his failures, and it hurts, and he wails and he weeps and he cries for like a century. This goes on, until eventually Lord Soth he fuck it. That's basically what he just goes, fuck it. And he sits there, and the ghosts are like all dancing around him, like, you suck, you dishonored yourself, ha ha ha. You fucked up your only chance at happiness. How does it feel? And Soth is like, yeah, I did that. I don't even give a fuck. He ceases entirely to give a single fuck. He doesn't even give shit. He doesn't give a shit about the whole mirror thing anymore. He's like, you know what? You're right. I deserve every bit of it. I deserve it. Yeah, keep singing. You're right. So like that's his whole thing, is like he is so just crushed. He is broken. He's like the most apathetic, just resigned asshole. He's in hell. He knows it. He doesn't even care anymore. He deserves it. So what happens is, the spirits, no matter how long they yell at him and they taunt him and they mock him, he just kind of sits there. There's no getting to him anymore. There's nothing that they can say or do, or they could prance this woman. They could prance Kitiara up to him and be like, she's all yours. Take her. He'd be like, I don't deserve her. Like he would. He'd be like, I don't. And they could be like, oh, you don't deserve her? How about if we kill her? Do you care then? He's like, no. There has never been a guy in like D&D novel history who has just stopped caring about everything as much as this guy stopped giving a shit about everything. So what happens is the spirits, like, they stop. They're like, we got nothing. Like, he's just sitting there. He is shut down. And so the Dread Realms are held together by the will of the guy who rules it, So like he doesn't care about anything anymore, and the realm is falling apart. And so what happens is the dark powers get bored, or like they get frustrated. They're like, we're torturing this guy and he doesn't care. This sucks. They're like, we set this whole thing up and he's, what an asshole. So like the dark powers, they're like, God damn it, you're so fucking boring, and they kick him out. They send him back. And I'm like, that's brilliant. That is so fucking brilliant. Like, what if you sent a guy to hell? He didn't give a shit. Like, you could burn him alive. You could prance his whole family in front of him and murder them before his eyes. He's just like, I had it coming. So like the whole hell has no purpose if you accept the punishment. You know what I mean? The whole purpose of hell is torment, but you can't torment this guy. And so the dark powers are just like, get out. You gotta be an asshole about this. Why can't you just like weep and cry for eternity like fucking Dracula over there? See, he's playing ball at least. He's still trying to like redeem himself or some shit. Get out. So they kick him out. I love that. That's one of the best things about Dragonlance to ever come out of that. Was I was like, you know what? It's a really bad adventure, honestly. I didn't like it at all, but the plot line was great, because it's an adventure that's not even about the player characters. They're just kind of there to watch. Basically like, here's this is really fucked up. Watch this. I think it takes place in a novel too. I remember there's an adventure where that happens, and there's like a novel. It's like Night of the Black Rose or something like that. Yeah, it's such a it's clever. It's almost like another one of those cases where somebody read the book of Ravenloft and what its whole philosophy is. And you know, there's probably a line somewhere that's like, "You do not get out of Ravenloft. Seriously, there is no way." Because there was like there's oh, I can't remember, but there was like this huge campaign long series of adventure modules that were really poorly published, out of order, but I can never remember. But okay, this ties into it. Don't worry, I'm not going off on a supreme tangent here. There's a like 8 or something adventures where one of the Dreadlords decides that he's gonna get out. He's gonna defy the odds, and he's gonna get out of here. So he's this really powerful lich who his punishment is that, among many things, is he cannot learn any new spells. So he's got this ultimate power, but he's stuck with the same spells he's always known, and he can't get out. Nobody can get out. So eventually he forms an alliance, a very loose alliance, with Strahd von Zarovich, who's in the neighboring kingdom. And so they decide they're going to work together and find a way out of here. So they're basically pooling their magical talent, and the way they're doing this is basically he's collecting like a battery of souls kind of thing, where he's just reaping souls like a motherfucker, and he figures like if he can create like a rift big enough with all this soul energy, he can rip a hole through the mists of Ravenloft and get out. And actually, he kind of does these calculations, and the science of it, as far as science-y magic goes, is sound. It's going to work. It takes a shitload of preparation, and so that's what the whole campaign is about, is trying to thwart his preparations. And it doesn't work. Because, well, I mean, I think actually when you thwart the preparations, and then all hell breaks loose, because, yeah, you succeed in making sure he doesn't get out, but when you do this, the power, the immense cataclysmic power of all these released energies rips a gigantic hole in the entire plane, the entire demi-plane. Which is why the new versions of Ravenloft look way different than the old versions. Because a big fucking goatsea hole got ripped in the middle of it. So it really altered the entire topography of the realm. It was this really huge event. So, yeah, so, like, this whole thing, like, the most powerful lich ever who gets sent to Ravenloft because he's such an evil bastard, combined with the most powerful vampire, like, he's paired with Dracula, these two fucking titans of magic do everything they can, everything, and they fail. They can't get out. They almost did. Like, I think even the Dark Powers are kind of freaked out that they almost did it, but they didn't. So, it's really up to it's really up in the air whether or not they were really ever going to, whether or not they really even came that close. But the point is, these two supremely powerful, nearly gods could not get out of Ravenloft, but Lord Soth did. And how did he do it? He stopped giving a shit. I was like, that's brilliant. He had to do nothing. He had to literally do nothing. He's just like, I'm not playing. You know what? You win. He just was like, you win. He was just like, eh. And the Dark Powers was like, fuck you. Get out. So, yeah. I guess that's the ultimate story of Lord Soth's victory over the Dark Power, so to speak. I don't believe I know he got out, but I don't know what happened after he got out. It was probably pretty funny, though. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how this character is like, it's this really tragic story that actually, he's so steeped in his own irony, he escapes the ultimate, like, prison of torment. He escapes hell through his own irony. I loved it. This has nothing to do with the Ninja's Handbook, but hey, I got to bitch about Dragonlance, and I still don't know what the fuck the Black Robes are for. So tell me, if you can, I need your help to explain to me, your humble storyteller, why you'd ever wear black robes. I don't know. I guess for Darth Vader, there's no hiding the whole spooky looking mask thing, but yeah, I'm not really feeling why Lord Dooku got to wear black all the time and talked in his really evil voice, or why Darth Maul had to look like fucking Satan, or something like that, or yeah. I mean, Palpatine, he at least had the right idea for part of it. You know, he pretended to be a nice guy for a while, but like, on the other hand, he had this fucker, you know, Darth Maul and shit like that. Like, yeah, I don't get that. The Emperor, I don't know. I guess, like, some of them tried to conceal themselves, but, like, you know, as soon as Anakin Skywalker turned to Darth Vader, of course he had to wear, like, even before that, even before he turned fully to the dark side, he was dressed like this black leather-wearing asshole. He, of course, had a scar across his face. He had, like, really sunken eyes and really greasy fucking hair. You'd think he'd take better care of himself if he was gonna, like, I don't know. Don't wear black robes. If you're evil, if you must play an evil character, at least dress nice. Don't wear a sign that says "Don't trust me, I'm an asshole." That's because that's what the black robes are. Okay. I'm done. I'm done for now. Don't wear black robes.